Welcome back to our continuous severe weather coverage, guys, and today we are breaking down the absolute catastrophe that unfolded across parts of Texas after an incredibly violent EF3 tornado tore a massive path of destruction right through the heart of several heavily populated neighborhoods. When you look at the aerial drone footage coming out of the disaster zone right now, it is literally mind-blowing, and it truly puts into perspective just how incredibly powerful and unforgiving Mother Nature can be when these supercell thunderstorms tap into the right atmospheric ingredients. The National Weather Service has officially surveyed the damage and confirmed that this was a high-end EF3 tornado packing peak winds estimated at over 150 miles per hour. Just to give you guys some context on what those wind speeds actually mean, an EF3 is not just a storm that takes off some shingles or knocks down a few fences. At 150 miles per hour, these winds are strong enough to completely rip well-built homes entirely off their foundations, debark mature trees, and toss full-size vehicles through the air like they are just plastic toys. That is exactly the terrifying reality that these residents woke up to. Meteorologists were tracking this beast on radar as it quickly developed into a classic hook echo signature. And what is really scary is that the radar actually picked up a massive debris ball, meaning the storm was literally lofting pieces of houses and buildings thousands of feet into the atmosphere while it was still actively moving across the ground. The warning time was incredibly short because these intense springtime storms can spin up and drop a funnel cloud in just a matter of minutes, giving families barely enough time to grab their loved ones and rush into an interior hallway or an underground storm shelter. First responders have been out there working tirelessly around the clock, conducting primary and secondary search and rescue operations, going meticulously from door to door, just to make sure nobody is still trapped underneath the massive piles of splintered wood and collapsed drywall. It is a highly dangerous environment right now for these crews because the entire debris field is littered with jagged metal, broken glass, and hundreds of live-downed power lines, making the initial recovery phase extremely slow and difficult. The utility companies are facing an absolute nightmare trying to restore electricity because the tornado essentially wiped out the entire local power grid, snapping massive wooden utility poles completely in half and leaving tens of thousands of people completely in the dark. But despite all of this unbelievable tragedy and widespread devastation, the one thing that always stands out in situations like this is the incredible resilience of the Texas people. We are already seeing hundreds of volunteers showing up from neighboring towns, bringing cases of water, hot meals, and chainsaws to help clear the blocked roadways. Local churches and community centers have completely transformed into emergency relief hubs almost overnight, providing a safe place to sleep for the hundreds of families who literally lost absolutely everything they owned in the blink of an eye. This is the peak of the severe weather season here in Tornado Alley, and the atmospheric setup over the last few days with massive amounts of Gulf moisture colliding with cold, dry air coming off the Rockies created the perfect breeding ground for these long-track violent tornadoes. Looking ahead at the forecast models, the threat is unfortunately not entirely over for the region, and we could be looking at another severe weather outbreak developing later this week. This is exactly why we constantly remind everyone to stay weather aware, have multiple ways to receive emergency alerts, and make sure your family has a solid safety plan in place before the skies turn dark. We will have our crews continuously monitoring the cleanup efforts, and we will bring you the very latest updates right here as these brave communities begin the long and incredibly difficult process of rebuilding their lives from the ground up. Please keep all of the victims and the hardworking first responders in your thoughts today, and make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay informed on all the latest breaking weather developments across the country. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and we will see you guys in the next update.